He kept insisting it was all in my head, the late-night phone calls, the scent that wasn't mine on his shirt, the sudden work trips that didn't line up with his calendar. I wanted to believe him. God help me, I wanted to believe him. But then our toddler walked in during dinner, plopped into his chair like it was any other Tuesday, and said, "Daddy's friend slept over again. The one with the bracelets." The fork slipped from my hand. He went pale, then red, then back to pale. And I swear to you, I could see the lie shatter right there in his eyes. My name's Michael. I'm 41. I used to think gaslighting was something that happened in movies, or to people who didn't know better. But now I know it happens slowly, quietly, like a leak you don't notice until your whole house stinks of doubt. This is the story of how I found out the man I loved was living two lives, one with me, and one with someone who wore jangly silver bracelets and didn't care that our son had eyes. It started with the bracelet. I should have paid attention the first time I saw it. A chunky silver thing, shiny and loud, not the kind you forget. I found it under the couch one Sunday while vacuuming. At first, I thought maybe it was mine, from college, from a drawer I hadn't opened in a decade. But no, I didn't own anything like that. I held it up. "Hey, babe, is this yours?" Jason glanced over, blinked once. "No idea. Maybe your sister dropped it when she was over." She hadn't been over in months. Still, I nodded, acted like I believed him, but I didn't. Instead of leaving it on the counter, I tucked it away in the bottom drawer of my desk, deep, out of sight, like some part of me already knew I might need it one day. That's how it works, you know? You notice something off, and they make it sound small, forgettable, a speck on the lens. The second time, it was the cologne. Jason always wore cedarwood, subtle, earthy, masculine in a way that lingered without shouting. But one night, he came home smelling like patchouli and something floral. Said he'd stopped at a coworker's birthday party on the way back from a conference. Said someone must have hugged him. I nodded, but that scent stayed in my nose. And it wasn't just a hug. We'd been together 7 years. Bought a house, had a son, shared Sunday grocery runs and Tuesday night trivia. We weren't perfect, who is? But I thought we were real. Then he started pulling away. Subtle things. Staying out late. Turning his phone face down. Swearing he was tired when I reached for him at night. I'd ask if something was wrong. He'd kiss my forehead and say, "You're overthinking. Everything's fine." And for a while, I believed that maybe it really was all in my head. Until dinner that night. Until our son, 3 years old, still learning to wipe his nose right, said, "Daddy's friend with the bracelet snores loud. Like a bear." Jason froze. His hand hovered over his wine glass like it might burn him. I stared at him, then at our son. "Which friend, sweetie?" I asked, gentle, trying not to scare him. "The pretty one," he said, with shiny arms. Jason got up, said he needed air. That's when I knew. Knew it wasn't work stress. Wasn't forgetfulness. Wasn't me being paranoid. It was betrayal. And the worst part? It wasn't just about me. It was about the kind of man he was willing to be in front of our son. I didn't follow him outside. I cleared the plates, tucked our son into bed. Then I sat on the couch, phone in hand, heart pounding. I wasn't sure what I was looking for, but I knew what I was about to find. He didn't come back in for 2 hours. When he finally did, he went straight to the bedroom, didn't even look at me, just muttered something about being tired. Said we talk in the morning. That's what cowards do. They wait for morning, for fog, for the softness of daylight to dull the edges of what they shattered. But I wasn't sleeping. I sat in that dim living room with my laptop open, heart running laps in my chest, trying to talk myself down from the edge of a question I already knew the answer to. See, there are moments when you feel the truth before you see it. When your bones already know what your brain isn't ready to admit. And that night, my bones were loud. Jason and I had separate logins on the laptop. Not because we were hiding anything, or at least, I wasn't, but because he liked to keep his work files neat. Said it helped him focus. He never logged out. I clicked into his profile like I was floating. Not angry. Not even scared. Just ready. There were folders I recognized. Work receipts. Family photos. One labeled Taxes 2023. But there was one I didn't. Buried 3 layers deep, in a path so winding it felt like a trail meant to be lost. Backup/archive/do not delete. It was the digital version of hiding something in the attic, a place nobody checks unless they're already suspicious. Inside were photos. Dozens. Screenshots. Saved images from apps I didn't use. Dates. Times. Names I didn't recognize. But one name kept coming up. Cameron. And in nearly every photo, Cameron was wearing the bracelets. Not just one. Layers of them. Silver. Clinky. Loud. Some were taken in restaurants. Hotel lobbies. One on a rooftop with city lights behind them, and Jason smiling the way he hadn't smiled at me in a year. There was one that made my hands go cold. Jason, shirtless, asleep in a hotel bed. And next to him, just visible in the mirror, the edge of a wrist. Silver bangles catching the flash. I sat there in that quiet room, hearing only the hum of the refrigerator and the faint tick of the kitchen clock. Time still moved, even when your world cracked open. And in that silence, something inside me shifted. Grief, yeah, but underneath it, clarity. I copied the folder. Every image, every file, onto a flash drive I kept in my desk drawer. The one with old tax returns and USB cords I couldn't identify. Funny how things end up exactly where they belong. The next morning, he acted like nothing had happened. Coffee, toast, a kiss on my shoulder while I packed our son's lunch. Like our kid hadn't dropped a grenade into dinner the night before. Like I hadn't spent the night uncovering a second life he thought I'd never see. I handed him his travel mug and said, "We need to talk tonight." He nodded, smiled, said, "Of course." And that was the moment I knew he still thought he was in control. Still thought I hadn't put the pieces together. Still thought the gaslight was working. But the thing about gaslighting is, once the flame goes out, you see just how dark it really was. That night, I waited until our son was asleep, until the dishwasher was humming and the baby monitor glowed steady blue. I sat him down on the couch, plugged in the flash drive, opened the folder. He didn't say anything, didn't deny, didn't stammer, just leaned back, eyes closed, and said, "I never meant for it to be like this." That's when the rage came. Not loud, not violent, just a still, sharp fury. "You brought him here," I said. He opened his eyes. Only once. I cut him off. Our son remembered him. He swallowed. And in that moment, the mask slipped. I didn't call him a liar. I didn't have to. Because when a 3-year-old says again, you believe him. And when a grown man suddenly rewrites the past to soften the blow, you know exactly what he's doing. The man I thought I loved, the father I thought I knew, turned into someone I didn't recognize. He looked tired. Not from guilt, from being found out. "I didn't want to lie," he said. "But you did," I answered. "And you let me question my sanity while you did it." I stood up, walked to the bedroom, grabbed a bag from the closet, started filling it. He didn't stop me, didn't beg, didn't say a word. And when I left the house that night, I didn't look back. Because once you see the truth, really see it, you can't unsee it. And I was done squinting through smoke. I didn't sleep that night. Not at my sister's place, not anywhere. I lay on her guest room couch, the ceiling fan circling overhead like it was trying to stir the air that hadn't moved in hours. And I kept replaying it. Not just what Jason did, but how he looked when he realized he was caught. He wasn't heartbroken. He wasn't even sorry. He was relieved, like the performance was finally over. And here's the worst part. Some part of me already knew. Not in the obvious way. Not like I'd seen texts or lipstick stains. But in that slow erosion of connection. The way his hugs got shorter. The way he stopped asking how my day was. The way we used to finish each other's sentences. And then, one day, I realized I was talking alone. That's how people leave you, sometimes. First emotionally, then physically, but always in silence. The next morning, I got up early, dropped our son off at daycare like I wasn't holding shards of a broken life in my chest. Smiled when he asked why Daddy wasn't home. Lied through my teeth. Daddy's traveling for work. I drove straight to the address I found in one of Jason's photos, a check-in screen from a boutique hotel downtown. Dated 2 weeks ago. The same weekend, he said he was in Chicago for a conference. I wasn't sure what I was looking for. Answers? A confrontation? Maybe just confirmation. That I wasn't crazy. That this man was real. The hotel was tucked behind a wine bar, quiet and modern, the kind of place that doesn't ask questions. I walked in like I belonged there. Nodded at the concierge. Found the little cafe in the lobby. I wasn't expecting to actually find him, not really. Maybe just catch a glimpse of familiarity, confirm the setting, ground the suspicion. But there he was, bracelets and all. Cameron. He was sitting at a two-top near the window, sunglasses perched on his head, a tablet open in front of him. Casual, confident, like he wasn't the ghost who'd walked through my son's memories. He looked up and smiled. I must have looked familiar. He didn't say my name, probably didn't know it. But I saw the flicker of recognition, the small inhale, the tightening of his posture. I sat down across from him. Didn't ask. Didn't wait. He didn't speak first. So I did. "You slept with my husband." No accusation in my tone. No drama. Just fact. He blinked once. Twice. Then set the tablet down. I didn't know he was married, he said. And I could tell he meant it. Cameron leaned forward, elbows on the table. He told me he was separated, said it was complicated, that he was staying in a guest room for the kids' sake. He shook his head, almost angry. He never mentioned you, never showed a photo, said he was keeping things private to avoid drama. I thought he was being respectful. Turns out, he was just hiding. I didn't respond, because I'd heard that lie before. From someone else. From me, back when I was still married to a man who stopped being mine months before I admitted it. How long? I asked. He hesitated. Physically? 6 months. Maybe a bit longer. But, emotionally? I think it started before I even realized it did. I nodded, looked out the window. The city moved like it didn't care what was breaking inside me. Cameron waited, then said something I didn't expect. He talked about you. That caught me. Me. He never said your name. But he mentioned someone. The one he used to laugh with. The one who made pancakes on Sundays. The one who knew how to fix the dishwasher without Googling it. I looked back at him, and for a moment, a strange, surreal moment, I saw the version of Jason he'd met. Not the liar. Not the father who failed. But the man I used to know. And that hurt more than anything. Because it meant that version of Jason still existed, just not with me. I stood up. Cameron did too. I didn't mean to be part of this, he said, voice low. If I'd known, I'd never have let him near me. I believed him. Because sometimes the affair isn't built on cruelty, it's built on lies too. I nodded once, then walked away. Didn't cry, didn't rage, just walked. Because what else do you do when the truth confirms what your gut already mourned? That night, I told Jason he had a week to move out. He tried to argue, said he still loved me, said he wanted to co-parent. I told him co-parenting didn't require sleeping in our bed with someone else's name on your skin. And then I handed him the flash drive. Keep it, I said. You'll need to remember what you ruined. Jason cried. I didn't expect that. Not the performative kind. Not the crocodile tears you fake for sympathy. Real crying. Slumped shoulders. Quiet sobs in the doorway as he packed the last of his things into a duffel bag we bought on our 3rd anniversary. The one we used for weekend getaways before things got complicated. I stood by the hallway wall, arms crossed, watching him come undone, the same man who once swore I made him feel settled in a way no one else ever had. He was settled, all right. And then he went looking for sparks in someone else's fireplace. I didn't offer comfort. That wasn't my job anymore. He zipped the bag and wiped his face like a boy trying not to cry in front of his dad. I never wanted it to end like this, he said. I nodded. But you chose it. That shut him up. He looked around the apartment one last time. I was lingering on the crayon drawing our son had taped to the fridge. It said, Dad, in crooked blue letters, next to a stick figure with a big smile. Jason's bottom lip quivered. He still loves you, I said, softer than I meant to. But I don't know how you explain this when he's old enough to ask. He turned toward me. I'll do whatever it takes to fix this, he said. Therapy. Mediation. I'll come clean. Just don't shut me out. I shook my head, not out of anger, but resignation. You're still his dad, Jason, I said. But not mine. Not anymore. That was the last thing I said to him before the door clicked shut. And then came the silence. The kind that wraps around you after someone leaves. Not peaceful. Not empty. Just echoey, like the walls remember things you don't want to. I took 2 days off work. Told them it was a family emergency. In a way, it was. The family just changed shapes overnight, and I was left holding the blueprint. Our son didn't ask much. That hurt more than I expected. Where's Daddy? He asked at breakfast. Daddy's staying somewhere else for a while, I said gently. But he still loves you very much. He nodded like that made perfect sense. Like people just leave sometimes, and that's how it goes. He didn't cry. Kids are smart like that. Smarter than we give them credit for. But that night, when I turned off the lights and closed his bedroom door, I heard it. A tiny whisper. Will he still kiss me goodnight? I didn't answer. Not out loud. But inside, I broke in two. 2 weeks passed. Jason called. Texted. Asked to come see him. I didn't say no. Because as much as I hated what he did, I wasn't going to punish our son for it. They met at the park. Neutral ground. I sat on the bench with a coffee, watching from a distance while Jason pushed him on the swing. Their laughter rose above the creak of the chains, and for a second, it felt almost normal. Almost. Afterward, Jason sat next to me. Said he was seeing a counselor. Said Cameron was out of the picture. Said he wanted to make things right. I looked at him, tired. You don't get to fix us, Jason, I said. This isn't a story you get to rewrite. He looked down, nodding. I know. We sat in silence for a while. Then he asked something I didn't expect. Do you think he'll hate me one day? I looked over at our son, now digging in the sandbox like it held buried treasure. No, I said. Not if you keep showing up. Not if you stay honest. Not if you earn it. He wiped his face again, stood up. Before he left, he turned to me. You were the best thing that ever happened to me, Michael. I didn't answer. Because sometimes the most honest thing you can say is nothing. That night, after bedtime stories and hugs and one more sip of water, because toddlers are master negotiators, I sat alone in the living room. Same couch, same silence. But I didn't feel like a ghost in my own life anymore. I felt present, whole. And for the first time since that dinner where our son dropped the truth like a stone in a pond, I didn't feel crazy. I felt free. Healing doesn't show up all at once. It doesn't knock on your door with a suitcase and say, I'm here now, you're fixed. It comes quietly, in tiny shifts. Like realizing you slept through the night without dreaming of them, or catching your reflection in the mirror and not seeing a man left behind, just a man, still standing, still brushing his teeth, still here. 3 months had passed. Jason and I had settled into a rhythm. Not friends, not enemies, just parents, co-managers of a small, loud, sticky-fingered boy who still thought dinosaurs were real and that both his dads could lift a truck if they really tried. We met in public places, swapped weekends, shared a digital calendar, set rules. No surprise visits. No overnights without texting first. No introducing new partners until it was serious. That last one was his idea, which was ironic, because I'd already met someone. Her name was Rachel. No bracelets. No secrets. Just kindness, steadiness, and this calm confidence that made me feel like I wasn't a broken thing she had to fix, just someone she wanted to know, as is. We met at a library, of all places. I was chasing our son through the children's section. He was yelling something about finding a book, with real dragons, not the cute kind. He knocked over a stack near her table. I apologized. She smiled, said, no worries. I like dragons. And somehow, that was the start. I didn't rush it. God, no. I tiptoed into it like someone walking barefoot through glass. But she didn't push. She just asked questions. Listened. And the first time I told her what happened with Jason, the whole thing, start to finish, she didn't flinch. She was quiet for a long moment. I saw her eyes flicker like she was sifting through her own thoughts. Then she said, I don't know the perfect thing to say, but I'm really glad you told me. No cliches. No rushing to fix. Just presence. And that was enough. I hadn't realized how much I needed that kind of response. Not sympathy. Space. One night, Jason texted me. Said he'd heard from a mutual friend that I was seeing someone. Said he wasn't angry, just surprised. I stared at the screen for a long time. Then I replied, it's not serious yet, but it feels healthy. He didn't respond. But the next day, he showed up early for pickup. Brought our son a new puzzle. Didn't mention the text. I think he knew. Some part of him understood that I hadn't just moved on from him. I'd moved on from who I was with him. And that's harder to face than a new relationship. The first time Rachel met our son, it was accidental. We were walking downtown after lunch. He spotted me from the stroller Jason was pushing and came barreling down the sidewalk screaming, Dad, I got a cookie. She crouched down instinctively, smiled, and said, can I see? He handed her the cookie like it was a crown jewel. Jason caught up seconds later, wide-eyed. I introduced them quickly, kept it casual. Rachel didn't linger, just smiled, said it was nice to meet him, and excused herself to run an errand so we could talk. Smart, graceful, no pressure. Jason didn't say much. But as he buckled our son into the car, he said, she seems nice. I nodded. She is. He hesitated. I'm glad you found someone good. And you know what? He meant it. Because even with all the hurt, all the lies, all the things we'd never undo, we'd both done the one thing that mattered most. We showed up. For our son. For the version of ourselves that wasn't perfect, but was trying. That night, after bedtime, I pulled out the old bracelet I'd kept. The first one. The one I quietly tucked away in that drawer, telling myself I was probably just being paranoid. It clinked softly in my hand. Cool metal. Cold memory. And I let it go. Dropped it into a donation box with a quiet sort of peace. Not because it didn't hurt anymore, but because I didn't need to hold the proof anymore. The truth had already done its job. I was free. Our son turned 4 in March. It was the first birthday we celebrated in 2 houses. 2 cakes. 2 sets of candles. 2 versions of Happy Birthday sung off-key by people who loved him more than they knew how to say. Jason hosted his party the weekend before. Balloons. A backyard bounce house. His parents flew in. The whole thing felt polite, choreographed. like a well-rehearsed play put on for an audience of one curly-haired boy with chocolate on his cheeks. I wasn't invited. Not out of spite, just boundaries. We'd agreed on that early. Celebrate separately, no confusion. I dropped off a gift, gave Jason a half-smile, waved from the sidewalk. He mouthed, "Thanks." I nodded. Then I went home. The next weekend was mine. Rachel offered to help, nothing major, just decorations and snacks. She kept it simple. Pirate hats, finger paints, little juice boxes, and a cooler. She didn't try to be mom, didn't overstep, just stood nearby, steady and warm, when the frosting hit the floor and I looked like I might lose my mind. And for the first time, I saw the shape of something new. Not a replacement, a restart. That night, after the last balloon deflated and our son was asleep on the couch, I found a letter tucked into the gift bag he'd brought home from Jason's party. No envelope, just folded paper. My name on the outside in handwriting I hadn't seen since we used to write notes on grocery lists. Michael, I wasn't going to write this. But the truth is, I don't know how else to say the things I never said when I had the chance. I miss being your friend, not your partner, not your husband. Just the man who used to know which cereal you hated and how you liked your socks folded. The one who made coffee the way you liked it without being asked. The one who used to make you laugh during movie trailers. I messed that up. I was selfish. I wanted more and didn't know how to ask for it. So I went looking somewhere else, and by the time I realized what I had, I'd already burned the bridge behind me. But you never set fire to mine. You gave me space, grace, the chance to show up for our son even when I didn't deserve it. Thank you for that. I know we're never going back. I don't want to. But I hope, maybe someday, you'll think of me not just as the man who broke your heart, but as the one who grew up afterward. You taught me how to be a better father, a better man, even after everything. And I'll spend the rest of my life proving to our son that people can change, even if it takes losing everything to learn how. Jason, I read it twice. Then I folded it up and tucked it in the back of the drawer with the old birthday cards and baby teeth still waiting for the tooth fairy. Not because I forgave him fully, but because something inside me had already healed enough to let that letter sit without reopening the wound. Later that night, Rachel and I sat on the porch. She asked how I was feeling, and I surprised myself by saying, grateful. Not bitter, not hollow, grateful. Because here's the thing no one tells you when everything falls apart. Sometimes the end isn't a cliff, it's a doorway. Sometimes the person you were before the heartbreak wasn't the whole version of you anyway. And when the dust settles, you find yourself standing on steadier ground, older, wiser, more yourself than ever before. Jason and I aren't friends, but we're good parents. Our son laughs loud. He draws us both in his stick figure pictures. One house has a porch swing. One has a dog. Both have love. And that's what he'll remember. Not the lie that broke the silence. Not the bracelet. Not the betrayal. He'll remember that we showed up. That we stayed honest. That we found our way forward. And me? I'll remember that dinner. The one where it all cracked open. And I'll remember the small voice that saved me from a lifetime of pretending. Daddy's friend slept over again. The one with the bracelets. He didn't know what he was saying. But I did. And I listened. And because I listened, I got my life back. One truth at a time.